the moment that you start forgetting what is money, after a few generations, it's very easy to just like, oh, remember that thing of gold? No, it's not anymore here. It's just what you are used to. It's just paper.
Yeah. It's
just shells.
It's just it's like a long range or long-term psychological operation, getting people gradually to forget what money is, such that you can steal from them systematically.
Hey everybody, welcome to the What is Money Show. I am thrilled to have you here joining me on my mission to help shine light on the corruption of money. Now, if this is your first time listening to the What is Money Show, I strongly recommend that you go back to episodes 1 through 9 first, which lays a lot of the groundwork for many of the concepts that we explore on the show. These first 9 episodes are my series with Michael Saylor, and thousands of people have told me that this is the best podcast series they've ever heard, hands down, and that it was instrumental to their understanding of money and Bitcoin. So if you're looking to start a deep dive into the nature of money, I don't think there's any place better that you can start other than episode 1 of this show. Now, a little bit about this show and how it makes money. The What is Money Show is 100% sponsor based. So all of our revenues are derived from direct sponsorships. And I strive to be very selective about the sponsors that I work with, specifically only using sponsors that I use personally, and also choosing sponsors that have values which are well aligned to the values expressed on this show, such as freedom, education, self-sovereignty, etc. So what I'm going to do now is a few ad reads right at the top of the show, and then I'll do a few more ad reads in the middle. And I hope you'll take the time to listen to them, as again, these are hand-selected sponsors, and I think you'll like what they have to offer.
Today's podcast is brought to you by In Wolf's Clothing. Wolf is the first startup accelerator dedicated exclusively to the Bitcoin Lightning Network. 4 times per year, Wolf brings teams from around the world to New York City to work with like-minded entrepreneurs, pushing the boundaries of what's possible with Bitcoin and Lightning. The program is designed to help early-stage companies achieve product-market fit, develop their brand, secure early-stage funding, and grow businesses that help fuel the global adoption of Bitcoin. So go to wolfnyc.com to learn more about the program or apply. Again, that's Wolf NYC, WOLFNYC.com.
Mr. Luna, welcome to the What is Money Show.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. I think it's the first time I'm in an English show and even the first time on camera on a show.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're at least partially hidden in your disguise over there.
Yeah. I mean, 2 years ago, if you would have asked me the same, I would have said, yeah, I have to come, but I cannot show myself because I was not even this half public.
Yeah.
But since last year, I did this move and feels okay.
Nice. Very cool. So you've got good operational security.
I like to think that is like that I don't know.
Yeah. Very good. So just by way of quick introduction, your name is Luna.
Yeah.
And you have one of the most popular Spanish-speaking Bitcoin podcasts called Lunaticoin.
Yeah.
Am I saying that right?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Maybe we could just start there. This is the first time we've met. I should probably mention we're in Prague right now for Bitcoin Prague. And really glad to have you on. I've had some other Spanish-speaking guests that have been orange-pilling the Spanish-speaking world. So I would love to just learn, to start, a little bit about your life story and your pathway into Bitcoin.
Yeah. I'm an architect by profession, education, however you want to call it. And I discovered Bitcoin in 2013. I was since long reading always these technological blogs. And I saw they were talking about Bitcoin. And for me, that was a scam. Something that you have digital, you for sure can copy, and it makes no sense that somebody was paying at the time $1,000 per coin, and it went parabolic in 2013. And I said, yeah, that's gonna fall. That's not gonna end up good, and it didn't. It went down, and I was following that path down. 2015, I think it touched $150, and I was like, yeah, I knew it. I'm a very smart guy. And then I forgot about it. 2017, the same blog stock that it reached 1,000. And then I say, what's going on? Am I stupid, or there is something there that I'm not really seeing? And then it hits 2,000 and I say, no, no way. I have to jump in. I FOMO'd in and I say, I will learn later. And that was like a nonstop. It was spring 2017. And I did a tweet last week that it's been 6 years now. And since that day, I haven't stopped thinking about Bitcoin for a day and thinking, what is Bitcoin? And why do we use it? Why is here with us? And that's a little bit my falling down the Bitcoin rabbit hole. And since 2018, 1 year later, I was so deep, I was studying so much that I thought, yeah, why not sharing this? Why not sharing my path? No? And that's when the show started. And since then, I had, I suppose, like many people, my shitcoin way. You know, it's like I came here for the money. I came for the volatility. So I thought, okay, there are things that are more volatile, and then it's when you start your path and you start to really understand or to think what is money and what are these other things and what is Bitcoin, and that's when you focus, and that's this marvelous road that you do down the Bitcoin rabbit hole. And since then, here I am, 2023.
It's beautiful. It honestly closely mirrors my own journey, because I started when Bitcoin, I looked at it in like 2014, but kind of wrote it off, bought a little, sold it, thought I was smart, made dollars. But then when 2017, when it was around $1,000, that's when I started buying it seriously and not selling it. And I don't think I've stopped thinking about it either for a single day since.
It's crazy because
I always say where your money goes, your mind follows. So it's like once I had that skin in the game, I really wanted to understand what this thing was. And it's just been a 6-year journey at this point.
It's crazy because if you think about it, if there is something else that you haven't stopped thinking for the last 6 years, I think that there are not many things, if any.
Yeah.
For a day.
Yeah, I would say the only other thing for me is, since the birth of my daughter, I think about her every day. So yeah, it's pretty significant event going into the Bitcoin rabbit hole. That is for sure. You said, when I asked you offline, who orange pilled you? You said it was the volatility, a combination of volatility and some technology blogs you were following. Can you walk me through your orange pilling experience?
Yeah, I think it's like an orange pill on delay, because as I said before, I was reading, I was questioning myself. I always question myself in many things. I like to think one thing today and tomorrow just question myself if my decision of thinking that is right. And that's what I did in 2017 about Bitcoin. And then these blogs were talking. And for me, it was just that in few days or in a few weeks, it went from 1,000 to 2,000. And for me, 1,000 from 2013, it was crazy already. So how come we are now in 2,000? And then that's volatility. I thought I was missing something. And this is the definition of FOMO, no? Fear of missing out.
Yeah.
And this is what I did. So I orange pill myself with a lot of these light reads on Bitcoin. These blogs are like, oh, Bitcoin hits 1,000, the craze of the crypto market. So this kind of very superficial blogs, because they talk about anything. And this is what orange pill. So I think that I orange pill myself just out of curiosity. And I didn't know what I was doing. Sometimes I suppose that I orange pill myself on other topics that maybe 2 months later I was on of them. But Bitcoin, no. Bitcoin still there.
Was there a particular moment in that journey that you recall having the inflection point, like going from curiosity to conviction, let's say, in Bitcoin?
Yeah. I mean, it was a process, as I was saying, no? But for me, the no way back moment was Riga 2019 Baltic Honey Badger. And it was, when 2017 happened, the bull market, the 20,000, you have this kind of moment that you want to talk about it with everybody, with your family, with your friends, and some of them follow your advice and they start to buy, but they are not so convinced. And then it goes down. It goes down to 3,000. And then people looks at you and say, hey, what about this thing? No, I bought it 15,000. What about this thing? And then it's like, okay, I'm not going to talk about it with anybody else. I'm done. And because I realized it was a mistake by my side. And then I started to leave Bitcoin on my own, privately, studying it, doing my show. My friends and family didn't know that I was doing the show. I started to have friends, from all the parts of the world, but my close friends didn't know about it. And then I was so alone, let's say, in my journey, only with digital friends. And then when I went to Riga, Baltic Honey Badger 2019, it changed everything. It was like, no, this is real. This is not me being crazy or going mad. No, this is real. And it's alive. There is a lot of companies working on this. And there is a future on this. I remember listening to Novak, listening to Seyfedin there, and it was like, whoa. And and since then, I came back and I was full bull, full toxic, or starting my journey to toxicity or maximalism. And this is, for me, was an eye-opening moment.
That's great. That also closely mirrors my own journey. It's, you do your own research into Bitcoin by whatever means. And I think over time, it seems to be like a one-way street. People, the more work you do, the more bullish you become, or the deeper your conviction becomes on Bitcoin. And not a lot of people seem to go the other way. It's like, it is a proof of work thing to understand Bitcoin. That's one thing, right? To like develop your own conviction based on your own research, your own reading, et cetera, et cetera. But then when you actually, and it's typically isolating because you're listening to podcasts, reading, there's not a lot of Bitcoiners around you, for most people, I think. But then you go to one of these Bitcoin events and you encounter these others, right? Other Bitcoiners that have gone along similar journeys, albeit different, right? Their own unique kind of intellectual path into Bitcoin. Super smart people, very ethically aligned, all arriving at the same conclusion. And for me too, that was a tremendous contribution to my conviction in the asset class. Like, it's one thing for me and my own limited viewpoint to arrive at this conclusion, but when you have the consilience of all these different people from all different walks of life, people that I admire them intellectually, and all arriving at that same conclusion, it seems like a very strong signal, let's say, for the significance of Bitcoin.
It was, I think that there is a lot in this Matrix movie, no? That when Morfeo is sending these first messages to Neo and saying, I know that you're looking for something. You've been looking for it your whole life, no? And it's kind of like Bitcoin is this piece that answers you a lot of questions that myself, I was asking, since I remember conversations with my grandmother when I was maybe 7 or 9, asking that why people just don't give things for free. Then if I give my production of bread for free to you, you can give me your production of shoes for free. So I was thinking about communism, and I was trying to learn about money. So it appears Bitcoin and all your values get aligned. And then you go to one of these events and you see these people with the same values align. And of course, you don't feel alone anymore.
Yeah. And that's good. It's good for the soul, good for the conviction, all of the above. Okay, so you, on your show, you talk to a lot of, again, it's Spanish speaking, but you're talking to Bitcoin core developers, economists, anyone in and around Bitcoin. Based on your conversations, which I'm sure you've learned a lot going through the process of doing this show. It's something I really appreciate about doing this show, is like I just get to learn for a living. It's a blast. How do you describe what's happened to the world, let's say since 1971? We've obviously transformed our monetary system, and it's transformed everything about the world. If someone is asking you, like, what have you learned in doing the show, and how's the world changed since 1971? How do you explain?
I will go even a little bit farther. I realized that in something like 100, 150 years, we forgot where we come from. So you talk a lot about money and what is money, and we have a history of 5,000 years, and we have seen how people has tried to find the best money, and they found it. The best money was gold, and that's what they used. And since the finishing of American War, Secession War, I think it's called, no, in 1860 something, this is where everything starts to change, in my opinion. We have free banking before, even in Scotland and Canada, and you can see there was no central banks, and you can see how things were going. Well, good. Even you had paper money, but it was okay because you had an easy redemption, and if a bank failed, normally the other banks were coming, private banks were coming to save people who had deposit there. And this is how it worked. But then you see how the state starts to take control after this war. And they start to issue greenbacks, and they start to try to take control of money. And then we move from that, maybe the next step, of course, Federal Reserve, 1913. But for me, then people got used to use paper money. It was more convenient. It made sense. But okay, with a classical gold standard that anybody could exchange paper for gold, that was no problem. But then, first war finishes that. And then 1933. Order 6102. That changes all. That is telling people, and even Roosevelt in his speech says...
Can you just tell people what that is for who may not know it?
Yeah, that was the moment when Roosevelt forbid to store gold privately.
Yes.
There was a point where you can have, if you had the collection money, because his treasury guy was a really fan of collecting gold coins. So he put this, and if you had a good collection, you could keep it. But just to store gold at home, it was not allowed. You couldn't buy it, you couldn't sell it. So basically, we talk a lot about Nixon, but it's nearly everything started there. Like the big move started there. Because at that moment, it had still to come 11 years later, Bretton Woods agreement. But from that moment on, Americans couldn't use gold as a saving. They had to trust the dollar, and they had to trust what the Treasury and the Fed were doing. And then this is like making the paper money the money. And even Roosevelt in his speech said this is by no means fiat money. So people was really didn't want to have fiat money.
Yeah.
And they had this memory. And then a few years later, Bretton Woods, they made another gold standard, but it was a dollar gold standard. You needed first to go to dollar and then dollar to gold. Perfect. And then Nixon, 71, which says, remember when we said that we would exchange any dollar that you bring me to gold? I'm sorry, we're not gonna do that. So they defaulted.
Temporarily,
but they defaulted. And I was thinking the other day to do a list of tweets saying, this Nixon tried to do that in 1971. Thanks God, all the other countries joined together and say, no way. And then he resigned, and thanks God, nowadays we still have gold standard because all the countries say no. But this didn't happen. Countries say, because of course, United States had the power, and they accepted it. So for me, how I see what happened is that in a situation of 150 years, different little by little political decisions made people to forget what money was. It was 5,000 years of trying to find the best money and trying to evolve it, making it paper money in the private banks, not in central banks, and more or less working. And then little by little, making that knowledge disappear. Few generations after, people some people discussed, of course, but common people didn't discuss, accepted dollar, accepted paper as good money. And this is where we are. We're in a moment that they don't have anything forcing to have a good monetary policy. They just can do whatever they feel is better.
Right.
So this is the situation we are now. They can do whatever they want. They have different mechanisms of increasing the monetary base, and that affecting the monetary offer. So at the end, when you see the graphs, there is this website, this famous website of what the F happened 1971. When you see the graph, that has to mean something. Why do we use flats and houses as a store of value? Why? Because people has big problems in using other means of storing value. And then they store value in the things they know. That's why it's nearly impossible for somebody who starts to work and works for 5 years to buy a flat without a mortgage. And this is the situation we are. Why people is speculating with homes? Well, maybe just first of all start asking, what's the problem with money?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's a great point. It's as if the disciplinary pressure that gold provided for government, like keeping governments honest, keeping government growth limited, that was the yoke that was thrown off in 1971, right? Just like no more of this. Giving governments this capacity to print currency ad infinitum and therefore grow without limits. And individuals have no check on that, right? Like typically, if a government was being irresponsible with their monetary policy and overproducing currency, savers could move wealth into gold and leave the country. And that would apply a disciplinary force on that country to be more responsible with their monetary policy and accountable to the preferences of those citizens. But once you remove that option, it's like that's why government has run amok. At least it's one of the primary reasons. Like I don't see the possibility of the centralized nation state swelling to the size it's become today without this move to a fiat currency standard.
Why these civilizations that were using shells as money stopped using money? Because Europeans came and they brought a lot of shells.
Counterfeited a lot.
Yeah, and they didn't realize that was not good money.
Yeah.
And that's how, in 5,000 years history, we realized that gold was the best money.
Yeah, because we can't counterfeit it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now, this is my lesson, no? Like, they made bit by bit, because 1971 is the famous year, but I think it was way more important 1933. It was the moment that they forbid gold.
Right.
And when the moment that you start forgetting what is money, after few generations, it's very easy to just like, oh, remember that thing of gold? No, it's not anymore here. It's just what you are used to, just paper.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
just shells.
It's something about that mistaking. You start to mistake, because the dollar was just a representation for gold originally, right? It's like a paper warehouse receipt you take to the warehouse to get gold. But over time, if people get accustomed enough to transacting in just that paper, then they forget what money is, as you're saying, right? They forget that it's supposed to be a representation for gold. And then you can get people to just have confidence in the paper itself. And then you're engaged in a confidence game. Like the dollar will work to the extent that people will continue thinking and acting as if it works. All the while, the central bank is expanding the supply of that currency, debasing its purchasing power. And so you end up getting in this situation where the central bank and the nation state, it needs to lie to the people, right? To convince them, in God we trust, right? Is on the dollar. All of these mythological symbols and sayings to try and impart integrity to the dollar, when in fact the integrity is being violated all the time through currency counterfeiting. It's like a long range or long-term psychological operation, getting people gradually to forget what money is, such that you can steal from them systematically.
Now I'd like to tell you about our sponsor, iCoin Technology. iCoin has just released a sleek new hardware wallet. It looks like a mini iPhone, a little touch screen and camera on it. The device has no Wi-Fi, no cellular connection, no GPS. It's a strictly physically cold hardware wallet. Like I said, it's got a high-res 3-inch touchscreen. It's got a camera for air gapping the wallet. It's got optional Bluetooth compatibility. And it's really a brand new UI, UX experience for a hardware wallet, making it very accessible, easy to use, not intimidating. And as we always talk about on this show, the only way you can truly own your Bitcoin is by having it in self-custody. So you need a device like iCoin Wallet to truly own your Bitcoin. Go to iCointechnology.com today and use promo code Bitcoin23 for 30% off of this new sleek hardware wallet.
Now I'd like to tell you about our sponsor, the Gold Investment Letter. The Gold Investment Letter helps sophisticated investors navigate capital markets and maximize their profits in trading gold, silver, and mining stocks. The Gold Investment Letter seeks out the most undervalued companies and identifies special situations in the mining sector, and then provides in-depth analysis on both their financial positions and future prospects. The Gold Investment Letter explores many complex domains such as investor psychology, portfolio management, and macroeconomic trends, all with the goal of making you a better investor. The Gold Investment Letter offers a free version and a paid premium version, and I strongly recommend you at least sign up for the free version because after having read a few of these issues, I can promise you it is a treasure trove of good information. You can sign up for the free newsletter today at goldinvestmentletter.com.
Now I'd like to tell you about our sponsor, CrowdHealth. CrowdHealth is a Bitcoin-enabled alternative to legacy health insurance. Now let's face it, legacy health insurance is an absolute scam. Nobody can explain this better than the legendary comedian Chris Rock.
Insurance. You got to have some insurance. You got to. There's an insurance. They shouldn't even call it insurance. They should just call it in case shit. Like, I give a company some money in case shit happens. Now, if shit don't happen, shouldn't I get my money back?
So with CrowdHealth, instead of just paying premiums that you'll never see again, you can hold part of this pool of savings in dollars and in Bitcoin through CrowdHealth. And when you have a health event, you can draw against this pool of communal savings. So go to joincrowdhealth.com/breedlove to learn more or sign up.
It blew my mind. I was reading Hal Finney texts from '92, and it blew my mind that he was mentioning George Selgin in a text, yeah. And I started to investigate because it was saying that before this secession war, there was no such a thing as public dollar in the States. It was only private bills, private paper money. And I was like, no way, dollar, come on, no central bank, come on, no central authority in the States. And no, it was like not a very long period, but there was this, not really free banking era, but there was a kind of a free banking era. It was not very good one compared to Canada or Scotland, but there was. And money, paper money, was an instrument, was a tool. Was a tool because it was inconvenient to move around. Yeah. And also when later on, when telegraph was invented, you needed something that you could just send information. So ledger and debit was convenient. Okay, but in a private bank system, it makes more sense. Not the one that was in the States, but it made sense. And that blew my mind to realize that, yeah, that paper money, before being like public thing or a political thing, it was a private instrument. And that makes you, it's good because when you fall Bitcoin rabbit holes, you start by 1971, and then you try to learn more, and you go to 1933, and then you learn more, and you go to free banking of the States, then you go to free banking of Scotland, and then you realize, okay, so the real evolution maybe stopped there. Maybe we stopped real evolution of money in free banking. And from that moment on, it has been just political money. And by no means, paper is a political instrument, it's a commercial instrument. But that's not anymore the case. Now it's a political instrument.
Right. Yeah, it's a great point. We introduced paper as a means of convenience, right? To make gold more convenient, more usable, more transactable. But then that became a very vulnerable political attack vector, where now, politicians and government can just, all the gold's in one place, right? It's like a honeypot. Like if we're going to war and we need to raise additional funds, we don't need to go door to door and tax people and then try to enforce the tax and collect the tax and spend all this effort. You can just go straight to the bank where all the gold is stored, right? And either confiscate it directly, award yourself cheap loans, any number of things to get a lot of juice for a little bit of squeeze.
That was the conclusion of Nick Szabo, no? Trusted third parties are security holes.
Yeah.
And this is, he likes gold, but and a lot of people like gold, and even Saifedean, I think he was the one who in 2019 in Riga, he said like, the best way to finish Bitcoin is to go back to a proper gold standard.
Yes.
And if it works and people don't overprint and so on, definitely there is no need of Bitcoin.
Right.
But the problem is that for gold, you need trusted third parties. And that's, if there is a chance, they will use it.
Yes. That security hole will always exist, and the counterparty risk necessary to scale gold. Okay, we're dancing around my favorite question here. So I have to ask you, we've talked about people forgetting what money is, perhaps even by design. What is money? When someone asks you this question, after 3 years of doing this, I have more questions than answers, actually.
Yeah.
What approach do you take in explaining the nature of money?
If I have the time and it's a friend, what I try to make him think is that to go back in history and to explain the problem of the barter economy. No, I don't even know if barter was really like a thing for long. I think that we were using debt in small circles, and then we started using money. But when you are in that economy, it's very difficult that we can have the same needs at the same moment with what you produce and I produce. So you will exchange things to another good, to another commodity that you know that somebody else will accept. So to make the trade, you start accepting something that you don't really want, but that you know that will be accepted. And then this is how money is born. It's just a commodity that you are just getting. And maybe at some point it was different commodities that you were accepting. Like, okay, do you have salt? No, I don't have salt. Okay. Do you have shells? Yeah, I have shells. Okay, give me shells. So that you can be accepting different things that you know that will allow you to eat tomorrow, for example. And that there is an evolution. Like this commodity, there is one commodity that gets commonly accepted, generally accepted. And this is how we find money. And I would say that money is this thing that is generally accepted and that generates less friction in between people that will provide you the things that you need. So this is how money was born, and this is how I see it's just a medium to exchange, a medium that you want to hold for a while, not for consumption, but for you to be able to get other things in the future. A way of storing wealth for the future.
It's funny when you articulate that description, it sounds a lot like language too, right? Where there's a means of reducing friction in human interaction, right? Versus you and I sitting here trying to fight over a sandwich or something, right? We could actually talk through, oh, well, maybe we could cut it in half, we can negotiate. So it's a means for reducing friction between humans such that humans can cooperate at scale. It sounds very much like a language.
But what would be language for you in this example?
Well, it's something like English,
Yeah, but I mean, compared to this money analogy, I'm asking this because I think that language would be the market. And the money is something that you don't see, because in fact it's the air between us.
Oh, yeah.
It's the medium.
The medium, right.
Which we can market.
Right.
We market, so we language through this medium. And money is just this medium. So people just was trying to find the best air.
Yes.
In which they could communicate market. They could create market.
Yes.
So, that's my way. It's a medium of exchange.
Right.
It's the air.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So the substance between us through which we're propagating messages.
Yeah. If we would be in space, no air,
right.
No communication through voice.
Right. That makes
no money.
Sense. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to think about it that way. You're, water to a fish, right? It's kind of like their medium of exchange, something like that. And it makes it hard to conceive of it and talk about it because it's hidden in plain sight. I think there was a long time that we didn't understand that air was even a substance because it's not visible.
And that's what politicians use, because it's hidden in plain sight.
Yes.
People don't think about it. They just use money.
Yeah.
And money was dollars.
Yeah.
So dollars, the same dollars before 1971 are as good as dollars now. They are dollars. So because this is our air.
Yeah, and then you can just change the definition of a dollar and perpetrate the biggest crime in human history, basically.
The biggest default.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so, all right, money is like an economic air between us. What is Bitcoin, and is Bitcoin money?
The answer I have to say is I don't know. No. For me, it's money. Let's say like that. For me, it's money. The question is, it will be the money, the generally accepted money. I don't know. And I have doubts about it. This is something, as I said before, I like to challenge myself. And I have had moments where I was seeing so clear that Bitcoin will be the money for many reasons we for sure, many values we share. But the Spanish scene is very interesting. There are some things that don't reach the English, but there has been some papers and some discussion about the problematic of Bitcoin having a fixed supply, no? And comparing it to gold. Even I think that Lawrence White did a book called Better Money Now, where he compares fiat, gold, and Bitcoin, and he tries to think what can be our best money, no? And yeah, it makes me think, trying to learn from the past, it makes me realize that for gold, there are moments where you demand more money, where you demand more medium of exchange, no? You demand to store more and so on. So this, when you have a fixed supply, I think that these peaks in demand will keep on creating volatility forever. It's not a matter of adoption, that this is what I've read a lot, but I don't think it is the case. I think that volatility will always live in Bitcoin because this raises in demand. For example, it comes Christmas. People needs to buy things. They demand money. So there is a higher demand of money. So how is Bitcoin gonna hold the same value? For example, what happened? I was talking with some Belarusians the other day. I was asking them, like, how is money there? And they were telling me that they don't use their money. It's Belarusian rubles. That as soon as they get some, they change to dollars, which was funny for me, not euros, dollars. And I was asking, so when there is a crisis, do the price of dollar fluctuates a lot because you don't have a dollar bank there? So you have a limited supply.
Right.
I says, yeah, definitely. When we had some crisis or the war crisis and so on, the price of dollar skyrockets. And then after few months, weeks, it goes down. So I think that this is what can happen with Bitcoin ad eternum. And this is what makes me think like, and gold, for example, was accepting this demand by having, in this case, in these moments, by printing more paper instruments by private banks. And then when market relaxes, they were redeeming and let's say and canceling this debt. Meanwhile, there were more mines being open and more development there and then finding more gold. With Bitcoin, we cannot do that. We can put more terahashes, but we cannot create more. It's 900 Bitcoin per day nowadays. So that makes me think, like, will it be the money? I don't know. I'm starting to see it like this private property that we never had before. It's kind of liquid wealth more than money. And that, yeah, that is amazing because we can exchange value with wealth, with something that was very hard before. But money as for general use, I've been 2 times in El Salvador, when 2021 and 2022. And I've been speaking with people from the street, people that were selling coconuts. The first year, Bitcoin in bull market, they were accepting Bitcoin. They were very happy with Bitcoin. Second year, bear market, they weren't accepting Bitcoin, but they were telling me that every day they were going to the ATM and changing it for dollars. And I said, why? I said, no, we cannot deal with volatility. We cannot accept it. So my path now is to understand that volatility is a cost. And is a cost that people normally doesn't like it for their money because they want to have this like shorter term stability that they will know what they will be able to buy.
Right.
So it is money for me in some community. For example, it's in digital communities, probably is money nowadays, but for the short term, because there is no other option. No, so when there is no other option, Bitcoin can be money, definitely. But if we're talking about money as the general accepted money, I don't know if it will be, and that's not a problem, because some people think that if you think that it will not be money, that you're against Bitcoin. No,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand it. I'm just trying to understand what its position in the world.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Now, it's funny that the most generally accepted definition of money is a generally accepted medium of exchange, or the most generally accepted medium of exchange. But that's not the only definition, obviously. We would say, if that were the definition, then we'd say, well, the US dollar is money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Period. But the US dollar is not money in the sense that it can never be the final extinguisher of a debt. And now we don't typically think that. We think if I send you money, if I send you dollars, I've paid the debt and we're done. But what we don't typically see again is that liability that's built into the dollar, which is the Federal Reserve can print it and you can't. So there's this liability that's always being defaulted upon in a way. It's like an implicit default when the central bank prints and you bear the cost of that in the form of debased purchasing power. So as an instrument for final settlement, the dollar is not money, but gold and Bitcoin are money.
I don't agree.
You don't agree?
No.
Tell me why.
How do you pay your taxes? How do you settle your taxes?
Depends where, but in the US with dollars.
Do you settle? Do you have like a settlement of your debts with dollars? I know that dollar is a liability. The dollar is debt. You're using dollar as because there is this another knowledge of money. Of money is a real asset, and what is not money is what is debt. I know that. I've been there. Okay, but maybe we're talking about two different things. Maybe we can recreate the definition of money, and then we have two definitions of money. But I just to go back to what you were saying, no, I don't agree. You settle debts with liabilities, and even you were doing in a moment of, for example, free banking based on gold. You had paper instruments which were liabilities, and you were able to settle debts buying fruit with paper.
Yes.
And yeah, if they accepted it,
Right.
maybe they were saying, no, give me stone. To me, I don't want paper.
Right.
I want the stone. But if they accepted paper, you settle debts with liabilities.
I would say you're settling your own debt, perhaps, but you're not settling it with finality in the sense that you've basically transferred the debt. So if I pay you in dollars, my debt to you is repaid. I don't owe you anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But now you're carrying the liability of that dollar, and that the Federal Reserve can debase you. Now, I'm thinking about this through an accounting lens,
Mm-hmm.
which is assets equals liabilities plus equity.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're holding gold or Bitcoin, you've got asset equals liability plus equity. Well, there's zero liability. You own, like, to possess gold, to physically possess gold as a bearer asset implies you have a 100% equity stake in that asset. There's 0% liability. That's not the same for dollars though, right? Like, there's a liability built into that dollar.
Yeah.
That can be expressed through the debasement of currency. So that's when I say, sure, you can settle debts, but I wouldn't say, I guess the word settle would be the operative word. You're kind of transferring the debt in a way.
Yeah.
I can repay my debt to you with dollars, but now you carry the burden of the Federal Reserve debasing your purchasing power.
100%. We're paying ourselves with debt and many qualities of debt. Because in the moment that I'm using a transfer, when I'm wiring you dollars, not as a cash, but as a wire, that's debt over debt.
Mm-hmm.
There's the liability of the Federal Reserve plus the liability of whichever are our banks.
Mm-hmm.
Then there are more.
Yeah.
There are more.
Venmo, PayPal, like all these counterparties.
And for example, I got to learn the other day that in the States, when you have a time deposit for a year, this is an instrument that they use between banks to pay themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to pay you for the instrument that Robert has in this account for 1 year, like a lock. And I'm going to pay this other bank a debt that I have. Mm-hmm. So it's a debt over a debt over a debt.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this is like layered money.
Yes,
and,
yes.
But I want like...
Shout out Nick Batia, great player.
So, but if we go back, I agree. I said we're living in a very bad money moment and we forgot our history. But what we use nowadays, generally, what creates the less friction is dollars in the States, euros in Europe. No? So, and then, okay, let's forget about debt or assets used as money. But what about the costs? The costs of an asset? Because in this discovery of which commodity can become money, you try to figure out the costs of holding that commodity.
Mm-hmm.
And volatility is a cost.
Mm-hmm.
And I am worried about it. That's what makes me think about Bitcoin as a very short-term money.
Mm-hmm.
So value for value, like sending zaps and so on. If you want to think it like that you hold and you send and so on, like a short term, okay, money. And again, for places where you have no other option, it's definitely money. But when you have an option, why in places like Argentina, that I was there last year, why they prefer to use Tether and not Bitcoin?
Right, short-term price stability, purchasing power stability.
Yeah.
Now, but I subscribe to the vision that, which is, I think, somewhat proven out over Bitcoin's 14-year history, that the purchasing power volatility subsides as its market capitalization increases.
Yeah.
Which is true of basically every asset, right? Like the smaller the asset, the more volatile it tends to be. So the bigger, the less volatile. Do you subscribe to that as well?
You mean by the most people that is in the asset, you mean?
No, I mean, as Bitcoin's market cap goes from 10 billion to 100 billion to $1 trillion, which was like its most recent peak, when it was at 69,000, it was around $1 trillion market cap. The intraday, intra-month volatility of that asset tends to contract inversely to the expansion of the market cap. So if Bitcoin becomes $100 trillion asset, presumably it would have much smaller volatility, price volatility, because it will have a much deeper market. So in that case, it could be a better candidate for a day-to-day transactional purchasing power stable medium.
It will get better, definitely, but I don't know if it will be enough. This is because it's still very volatile, and if you think to reduce it by a lot of magnitudes, this is my question. Because again, it's fixed supply. So if you would say like, no, but now with Fedimins, maybe you can have some not full reserve Fedimins, and then you can, whenever there is demand, you can create basically like paper gold and so on. Okay, but I don't think it will work because the qualities of Bitcoin are different. And there was a need of storing gold somewhere to keep it secure and to get the convenience of being able to send it to other places in the world or the country without having to transport. So it had a reason. But Bitcoin is natively digital. Bitcoin is, with a little bit of knowledge, easy to store. And the best quality of Bitcoin, or one of the best, is that it has no storage costs. And this, again, it goes back to what's the cost of this new commodity we're going to use as money. And for example, storage is, Bitcoin is top class, better than gold, better than anything. But volatility, this is what worries me. So again, I don't have the truth. And I might change my opinion in a month and a year. But now I'm in this point that I have my doubts. And that's not a bad thing. It's already...
Sure.
Bitcoin is successful already, and it's wealth. I have no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Can it be money? It has challenges.
Yes. Yeah, it certainly does. There's no question about that. I guess one last piece of pushback I would say on that is, yes, volatility is a risk. It is a cost. It's an element of uncertainty, but it cuts both ways too, right? Like you can't have the prospect of exponential increases in purchasing power without the asset being volatile.
Definitely.
Right.
But
Amazon in 1994, I think I can't remember if it was 94 or 2000, Amazon had like a 94% drawdown, the stock, right? And then it's since that point, it's grown like 40,000% or some crazy number. You're just not going to get that level of growth possibility without stomaching the volatility of a 94% drawdown.
Yeah.
So they go hand in hand, would be my point.
Yeah. But that's I would say that point is following this thesis I'm putting today on the table. That's true. I agree. That's where I think that Bitcoin will go. And because of that, I have problems thinking as Bitcoin as money in the long run. And that's okay. No problem.
No, it's great. We need to think through these things to help Bitcoin succeed, actually.
Exactly.
Now I'd like to tell you about our sponsor, Wasabi Wallet. With Wasabi Wallet, you can receive, send, and store Bitcoin privately. In Wasabi Wallet, your transaction history and wallet balance are completely hidden. Wasabi Wallet is easy to use, all of its privacy features are built in by default, and it works with any amount of Bitcoin. Wasabi users can make CoinJoin transactions together with BTC Pay Server users or Trezor Suite users. For BTC Pay Server users, they can make payments directly inside of a CoinJoin, and for Trezor Suite users, you can make CoinJoins directly on a hardware wallet. These features result in fee savings and security improvements for both sets of users. So go to wasabiwallet.io today to download the state-of-the-art Bitcoin privacy wallet. Now I'd like to tell you about our sponsor, Casa. Casa makes it simple to buy and secure your Bitcoin without wondering whether you're doing it right. Specifically, Casa provides a multi-key custody solution, which is by far the most secure way to custody your Bitcoin. Now, when I talk about Bitcoin being theft-proof money or inviolable private property, a multi-key custody model is exactly what I am talking about. Using multiple keys lets you maintain full control of your Bitcoin while also giving you redundancy in case you lose one of the keys. It's also the best way to secure your Bitcoin for inheritance planning purposes. So go to keys.casa, that's C-A-S-A, today to sign up and use discount code BREEDLOVE.
Okay, what is your perspective on Bitcoin philosophy? It's so strange to me that something is maybe traditionally considered mundane and boring as money, like people, whatever. It's like accountants and finance guys, like traditionally considered pretty boring types. But all of a sudden we have this revolution in money called Bitcoin, and it's got guys like you and I going down this strange rabbit hole into philosophy and metaphysics and psychology and sociology, like all these different domains. Why? What's going on? What is Bitcoin philosophy? Why does it emerge? Why are we so drawn into this rabbit hole?
I was, I don't know, because when you talk about philosophy, you have like different perspective of how it adapts to your philosophy of life and so on. And I like to think whenever I hear about philosophy nowadays, I think about political philosophy. What's the place of Bitcoin in the political philosophy of the world? And political as being the systems that we figure out for humans to take decisions that will affect many people. And that I have to say a big, like, what made, I would say, the Spanish world evolve. And now it's even possible for the English people to get that knowledge because it got translated, this book, into English. It's the author, Álvaro de María. He's a Spanish, I would say, philosopher, author. That he had this little book 2 years ago that he made me see how incredible is Bitcoin when you look at it from with the lenses of the political perspective. And let me explain a little bit more there. We are living in a nation state, and nation state is so powerful and is so blinding. It's a little bit like the same blinding they did with money. So blinding that we think that nation states were there since always. But that's not true. When we call, in Spanish, I don't know how it in English is the same, but we call the city-state of Florence, no? Or we call the city-state of many other cities, no? But that's not true. That the political form of Florence was not the state, okay? Nation states start to be born in the 15th century in Italy, and this bit by bit evolves, and the marketing moment of nation states is probably the French Revolution, and then this political form starts to be adopted by all the places everywhere. What is the form of the political state? Before the nation state. Before the nation state, we had two powers in society. We had the authority and the power itself, the physical power itself. This is in Spanish would be autoridad y potestad.
It's like political power versus physical power.
Something. I will give you an example. Yeah. In the Spanish kingdom, the one that got the imperium, that discovered America and so on, there was the power was the king. They had the physical power. They had the soldiers. Okay, but there was the authority that was the church. Okay, church was saying how people should live life with which values, and the power was enforcing those values, was making that people was behaving how they should. Okay, but these two powers were separate. That's why there was a lot of fights. Okay, and we have seen chapters like Henry VIII, I think, in England, like defying this authority and so on. Okay, but these two powers were separate, and we can find them the same in Rome. There were two powers. Okay, authority was one thing very different from physical power, the governing power, and then this finishes in absolutism. No, in absolutism, these powers get together in one figure, in one king. And this is what we call the sovereign person.
Like a god king.
Yeah. Because before we had the god saying his things with from the authority, and then us executing them. But now, no. Now there is a human on earth that is able to say what is good and executes that. It's all in one person. Okay? And so we fulfill his desires. And that is what, when French Revolution happened, they cut the head of the king, but the apparatus, the political system, the administration of this nation state survived. Instead of having one king, we started to have later on democracy and so on, but the apparatus is the same. We are able to create laws, to create policy, is a better word now, but that's why people a lot of times think, oh, but this law is unfair. It shouldn't be like this. Because one thing is what the policymakers say that is good, this authority inside the sovereignty. And the other thing is the common belief
what is moral,
what is moral, what is right or wrong. That's why there is these problems now.
Yes.
It's in the root of the nation states.
Right.
So for nation state to succeed, they need full power. They are gods. And then is where you see what Bitcoin is doing here. Bitcoin is taking one of his biggest powers. That is to take the power for the state has to be able to take whatever it wants. Has to be able to confiscate whatever it wants. It's the supreme power. And for the first time, we have something that they cannot take. And you don't need an army. You don't need tanks. You don't need guns. You just need them not to find your private keys. So, and Bitcoin is a property. It's the most radical property we have had. So, the appearance of Bitcoin is just a reminding that the nation state is just a political form. It's just another political form, and that we have had it for 400 years, or like more generally for 200, 300 years. And the same that it appeared, it can end. And Bitcoin is starting to take from the nation-state governors their power. The same as cyberspace has, cyberspace is a big problem for them.
Yeah.
Because now there is another realm with no borders that it's escaping their control. They try, they put a lot of firewalls and so on, the great firewall of China.
Right.
So on. But these two things together is what it really motivates me to think that Bitcoin has not only a point in the history of money, but has also a point in the history of political forms.
Yeah.
It's the beginning of a state that you see that is starting to shake. It's a tree, when the tree is rotten, you don't see it. Because from the outside, you see it's perfect.
Right.
But when the storm comes, you only hear the cracking, no? But when the storm comes, then the tree falls very easy.
Right.
And then you see it was rotten inside. So I think that Bitcoin is this cracking. The tree is still there, but Bitcoin and cyberspace is this cracking that you can hear nowadays and use it to see that this political form is coming to an end.
And the storm is coming.
Yeah, storm is here.
That's really good. I tweeted this yesterday. I said, apolitical money is the most significant political disruption in human history. Like the political form of whatever it's taken, the state or whatever the monopoly on violence has been, has always monopolized the money. So these things have gone hand in hand, right? The physical power has established political power through controlling the money. And this idea of having something that a state cannot confiscate, a state which depends wholly on revenues through confiscation, right? Taxation, inflation, regulation, stealing. All of a sudden we introduce a form of property that they cannot violate or confiscate. It is a really big deal. And you know what else? It's, if you go back, I often say this on the show, looking at the Magna Carta that King John signed in 1215, it was life, the exclusive philosophical scope of an ideal government was to preserve life, liberty, and inviolable private property, which is to say ownership that cannot be confiscated or violated at the whim of a king or anyone else. That was this is the precursor document to the U.S. Constitution. So it's like this long multi-century enterprise. We've been aimed at this ideal of inviolable private property, but we never had it. It never actually existed. It was never implemented in any technological form. But now in Bitcoin, not that it's perfect, of course, right? Plenty of Bitcoin has been confiscated. Plenty of Bitcoin has been lost. People that mismanage their keys, mismanage their wealth. But we have the tools available today with things like multi-key, multi-signature solutions to custody Bitcoin in a way that is as close to impossible to take as any form of property has ever been. And the long-run implications of that for the existence, the existential necessity for something like the nation state are, I mean, this is the place in the rabbit hole where people their minds get blown.
Yeah. This is the same that you can analyze Bitcoin from the money perspective, from political perspective. You can analyze it from property perspective. And I think that this is the part that I really enjoyed from software, from Jason Lowery, that he explains you the evolution of property. No? And basically in the wild, property is what you can physically protect and
territory. Yeah.
Make yours. Like when the wolf is eating this deer, like how does it prove that it's his? It's just by looking at you and saying, yeah, come and take it if you want.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, no, I'm not going to do that. So, but then that's property. And now we live in this abstract power that at the end is this mix, is this authority, that you create these laws and that you create this fiction that now there is, at least in Spain, there is a registry, for example, for a house that says who is the owner of each apartment, house, and so on. And now we create this fiction that, that what says that registry is what is really yours. And so far, so good. But we have seen in places like Peru, for example, that there are moments that it comes a lot of people to your land, they take it, and you cannot do anything.
Yeah.
You can try to call police, so at the end you can try to enforce physical power to kick them out. But the state is so broken that they don't do anything, or maybe for political decisions, they prefer not to do anything because they want their votes. And the property is broken. So from the property perspective, Bitcoin is amazing because you become the wealth, but without having even to, your POW, you did it before to get that Bitcoin. But once you get it, you need a little bit more proof of work to learn how to store it and manage keys, maybe multi-sig and protect it. But that's all the effort that you have to do. And they cannot do anything. Yeah. They can torture you and so on. But even if it's in a time lock, mini-script wallet, what they can do, they cannot do. They are going against mathematics.
Right.
So, break mathematics, get Bitcoin. That's no other way around.
Yeah, it's a great point. So it's in giving this unparalleled degree of power to the people, obviously with great power comes great responsibility. And I guess that's what Bitcoiners are still going through, is the process of really learning this radical responsibility that radical ownership necessitates. Yeah. And it seems transformative, right? I don't know, something about shouldering that much responsibility and going down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, the combination of these two things really seem to be transformative to people. Like people are changing.
Forgetting what money is a 150 years thing, but forgetting who we are from the nation state perspective is like a 400-year thing. So to take responsibility is a hard thing. And it's not an easy, and even it's something that people doesn't desire. And I was surprised. I did a series of podcasts with beginners. completely beginners. I was inviting them, and I had an idea of what I wanted to ask. The podcast, they turned out completely different because they had questions I could never imagine. I'm so deep in the rabbit hole, I'm not anymore a beginner. And there was this girl, and to me, it surprised me amazingly that she said that she didn't like this 12, 24 words thing because she feels a huge responsibility and she doesn't like it. And I said, so what do you like? I said, I like to go to the bank and that they give me my money. And I say, okay, but for you to go to the bank and for them to give you the money, they need your identity. So basically your keys are your identity. And I said, yeah, that's great. That's what I want. And then you realize that a lot of people doesn't want to do that step, that this responsibility is a high cost, again, for a lot of people. And maybe in those cases, that's why I sometimes think that maybe Fedimint and this kind of tools will be helpful.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's incredible. It's amazing because I think that the mental work we have to do with ourselves to not be afraid to just go back to what we should do, to what animals do, to keep our property safe and to not trust anybody. That's very hard. We are very afraid of responsibility.
Yeah, and like to your point, perhaps as a product of conditioning over the past 400 years, right? The fatherland or the motherland, the nanny nation state will just take care of, everything. Social Security, retirement, blah, 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 blah. It's very easy in those conditions to, I guess, abdicate responsibility, which is something that we're inherently, it can be scary, right? It can be scary because if you mess up, well, then it's on you, right? You don't have someone to fall back on. So yeah, maybe that's part of the transformation Bitcoiners are going through, is just reawakening to the reality of personal responsibility. That, the hard truth is we are each responsible for our own lives and ourselves. No one's coming to save you, right? As much as you might like to believe that, it's typically not true from a historical standpoint.
And not taking hold of your responsibility can be even convenient and successful for some people. Maybe my parents, who lived a very prosperous time in Spain, it played well for them. They didn't took that responsibility, but the system was working. The state was not so oppressive. Taxes were okay, and that's okay. But the importance of responsibility is that when things go south, like people living in Venezuela was one of the wealthiest and most prosperous countries in Latin America in 1950. So it was unexpected. Argentina, in the beginning of the 20th century, very prosperous country as well, unexpected as well. So when things go south, if you didn't had a little grasp of what responsibility is and what can happen to you when these trusted third parties became untrusted third parties, then you will have a very hard moment. So, okay, maybe we don't have to burn everything down, but at least to open eyes and get ready because this can get ugly.
The storm's coming.
Yeah, it's cracking.
Luna, I appreciate you doing this.
Thank you.
It's been a very fun conversation. I appreciate the philosophical bent on things. Where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, they can look for me on Twitter, Lunaticoin, in YouTube the same. I rarely do English shows, but sometimes I have some. So maybe if they want to learn Spanish, they can also listen to them. So yeah, they can find me there. Twitter mostly.
Awesome. Thank you again. And I guess we should go get to this conference.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Thanks.